Hey, I'm Tiffany and welcome back to the Mellow Vibes channel, or welcome for the first time. Today we're going to be talking about how to get in touch with your intuition. So if you are new here, my channel and my business, Mellow Vibes, helps introspective, artistic, wanderlusting freedom seekers work towards living the life that they desire and require for themselves, develop a healthier sense of self and healthy relationships with other people, and and develop and share their gifts with the world. If that sounds of interest to you, definitely hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I post. So today I'm actually this is a response video. Well, yeah, I was actually going to already talk about it, but then I looked at some videos and I really liked this one, and I had certain, not grievances, but opposing views on some of the things they said. So the video, I have my notes here. I'll be looking at my notes, and I'm definitely trying to keep the computer far from my phones because last time it was like super loud and it's burning my arm right now. It's really hot. Okay, the video that I'm responding to is called 10 Signs to Know If Your Intuition is Trying to Tell You Something, and that is by Slightly Better. I wrote Ser Mejor because I didn't know if it was Ser Mejor or Slightly Better, because sometimes my phone translates stuff into Spanish that is not actually written in Spanish because I have my phone settings in Spanish, and sometimes it is that way for like YouTube videos even though they didn't write their stuff in Spanish. So yeah, the channel said Ser Mejor, but when I clicked in the channel it said Slightly Better. So Ser Mejor actually means to be better. So anyway, so I'm going to go over the 10 signs that they gave and talk a little bit about them, but I'm going to go like quickly, and then I'm going to get into like my thoughts about intuition. So number one, they said the same opportunities keep coming to you. And so yeah, I definitely agree. I talked about this in my video. I think it's called When Something Keeps Popping Up. I'll definitely link it, card it, whatever. And that was a few months ago, I think. And I talked about that. So yes. Number two says you have a peaceful feeling in your stomach or your chest. Number three, you have a happy, confident feeling, even if the thing is irrational. Like maybe like quitting your job or something, which I've been through. And I had a very happy feeling about it. Thoughts, number four is thoughts pull you into a specific area. Now I will say this one is debatable because as someone who is prone to be pessimistic, I wouldn't necessarily say that if thoughts pull you into a certain area, then that's your intuition, because I wouldn't say naturally, because I think we're all born in a good and positive way, and then stuff influences us. But from a young age, I've been really pessimistic, and so I actively work on that, and I actively work to make my thoughts go to the positive first. And so it's always a work in progress. It doesn't always happen. And so I wouldn't say if your thoughts go somewhere, then that's your intuition, because some people are more prone to be negative, and it's like easier to be negative than positive. So that I would say is debatable. Number five, you have an uneasy feeling about a certain situation. That I would say is debatable as well, and I'll talk about that because it'll tie into number eight. Okay, number six, it said lucid dreams. It said to document dreams, and because in dreams it's always like a message, and there's no time stamp on the future, past, or present. It's like they could be happening, whatever you dream about, could happen later or whatever. And I started documenting my dreams, actually, I don't know, several months ago. It was not this year, last year, because it was something else that I heard that said, God talks to you in your dreams a lot. And so I'm like, yeah, I do feel like I'm missing some things sometimes when I don't. Not that I remember most of my dreams, but I never wrote them down. And so I've taken to either writing them or like recording them in my phone. And so I definitely think that's intuition. A lot of times I definitely had things happen from a dream, or it was a sign that when the thing happened that this was the thing. I like, right off the bat that comes to my mind is if you watched my videos Symbolic Dreams, And then I had symbolic dream update because this was maybe 3 years ago. I had this dream or something like that. That was intense and like unlike any other dream I've ever had. And then in my update, I talk about like, because I was talking in the first video about like what it could mean, and then the second video I was like, I realized, oh snap, like this like happened. And so you can check in with those dreams, those videos, and see what I'm talking about. And the other dream is like actually on the same wavelength because it had to do with like my romantic life. I mean, the symbolic dream was more in depth than just that. It was like the choices I was making for myself. But I had this dream. I was just going into, what was I going into? I was going into my notebook. I was looking for one of my poems. I was looking for when I wrote one of my poems. And then I saw that right after I wrote one of my poems, I wrote a journal entry about a dream that I had like that night or the night before, or whatever. And it was about a dream guy. I was like, this is the third dream I've had about a dream guy, but this one is different. Like this one actually, it was like the other ones were actually really vague, but this one was kind of specific. And I knew that he was like a black Spanish. He was like 5'10". He was like the same complexion as my cousin. And it was crazy because when I haven't looked at that in so long. That entry was 13 years ago. And yeah, I haven't looked at it in 13 years. And then I'm like, all the stuff I wrote, I was like, yo, this is my fiance. So yeah, it was definitely wild to see that 13 years later. And it actually reminded me of, so I was thinking like, wow, like what if I knew 13 years ago that I would have to wait 13 years for this person, or 12 years when I met him or whatever. And it was kind of, it made me think of the movie Timer. If you've never seen that movie, it's a really good movie. Look it up, Timer. I can't remember the actress name that's in it, who's like, she used to be in like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I think she was like Xander's girlfriend near the end, and she was in some other stuff. But anyway, it's a really good movie about Timer, and it's like if you have a clock implanted in your wrist telling you when you're gonna meet your soulmate, it counts down to when you're gonna meet your soulmate. If you have a blank timer, it means your soulmate doesn't have one yet. If you have the time, it tells you the time. So it was just like, what is better, like not having a time, because one character just didn't have a time like for more than 10 years, and then her sister on the opposite hand had a time, but it was so far out. It was like she wasn't going to meet that person until she was 43. And it's like, what is better? I'm like, oh, what would I, so I was thinking like, oh, what would I have thought like if I knew I've had to wait like 12, 13 years for this person. So anyway, off on a tangent with that, but let's get back into it. So number 7, clarity and aha moments. Number 8, like I said, I was going to get back into, was realizing that your intuition, your highest good and evolved part of you, and your instinct, which has a relationship to survival and ego, are not the same. So like I said, number 5, it says feeling uneasy, having an uneasy feeling about a certain situation. I said was debatable because I think first you would have to realize that your intuition and your instinct are not the same. Like I said, the instinct is related to survival. Your ego and stuff is always trying to protect you because it doesn't know what's going to happen. It's like, I'm just going to stick to the comfort zone. If it's like, oh, should I take this job in Brussels? And your ego is going to be like, no, why would you do that? You don't know anything, you don't know anybody, whatever. But if your intuition is just like, no, this really, really feels right, it's like differentiating between, you have to develop that. It's like a muscle. You have to develop it and know like what is fear, basically, and your intuition. So, which I'm going to talk about later. Number 9, feeling ill when you ignore your intuition. Just keep feeling, you're just continuing to feel ill until you change, because you're ignoring what your intuition is telling you. I've had that situation, and I'll talk about like how I realized that was a thing later. But when I worked for the state of Pennsylvania, I just felt like in my stomach all the time, like pain, uneasiness, a lot of digestive issues. I mean, I'm prone to digestive issues anyway, but it was just like unlike anything else. And once I quit my job, because I knew I just needed to leave that job, it just didn't sit right with me. And once I did, my digestive issues stopped. So number 10, the feeling just won't go away. So, okay, so my thoughts on it is I definitely want to first get into what your intuition is. Like the video from Slightly Better stated, you know, it's your highest good, it's your most evolved self, but also I feel like it's, and I've heard, I think a few people say too that I agree with, is like it's your connection, it's your direct line to God, and it's just like this knowing that you have, and there's no, you know, there's no reason to it. It's just like you just know, and it just feels right. Some people say that it's in your gut, like a gut feeling. Oh, I just have this gut feeling. That's not how I feel it. That's never how I felt it. I've never had gut feelings. I feel it in my third eye, which is appropriate because they say that's where your intuition is, in your third eye. So I'm still working on differentiating when I feel a throbbing here, like I'll get like headaches right here. It's usually like, I don't know what, it's usually when something is kind of overwhelming me about a certain thing, and I don't know if it's like because I should lean more into it or not. And I've been working on differentiating that, and I feel like it is more of a I don't know. It kind of depends on the circumstance and just like what feels right in the moment. But sometimes it's like a throbbing. I mean, there are different throbbings though. It's like sometimes it's like kind of like if you just did this and felt like a ticklish thing, then I feel like that's the good one. And then the throbbing is like, okay, I should back away from this. So I've been like trying to pay attention to more of that, but I feel like that's what it is for me. So like I've recommended this book so many times over the years, called Trust Your Vibes by Sonia Chilquet. And this is when I really started the practice of trying to be more intuitive, like focused on it. And that was how I realized, like, she had parts in her book, which I don't have it right up front. I think it's in the back. There's a part in the book where she goes over like different like pain points and like what they could mean. And the stomach was just like, if you keep having stomach issues, it's just like something going on in your life that you just can't digest. And so that situation was my job. That's when I first read the book, and I was just like, yeah. So I'd recommend that book. She really gives some really great examples. Also, she gives the advice of like trying to like pay attention to or document how many times you felt your intuition was going some way and that it actually worked out, or didn't, or whatever. But which I haven't gotten to like writing them down. I just kind of remember certain things. But yeah, I think documenting them might be my next step. Writing down. Actually, I have started to write some stuff down, just not as frequent as I should, I guess. But the point is that you will begin to realize, because people think, oh, trusting your gut or trusting your intuition is like irrational, and it's like the opposite. Like we're always like, why are we taught that listening to ourselves, to our bodies, to our spirit is irrational? That's crazy. But the point of documenting it and paying attention to that is knowing that being able to look back and see like, oh snap, this was right. Oh snap, this was right. Oh snap, like I wanted to do that and I didn't. And had I listened to my intuition, that happens to me frequently. Not as frequently, because I try to just listen to my intuition, even though sometimes it seems crazy. And I was just like, every time I'm just like, I knew that, but I already knew that. And I think we've all had those moments, but I already knew that. And so starting to document that, so that if if your whole thing is like listening to your intuition is irrational, but then you see all this evidence that it was right all these times, then that's not irrational. That makes perfect sense. So listen to your intuition. So, and I'd say this happens with first impressions a lot. Like, I've had so many instances where, especially in the realm of dating, where my first impression was just like, no, I don't like this person. I haven't even spoken to this person yet, but just seeing them, there's a vibe that I just don't care for. And then you give somebody the benefit of the doubt, and then you start hanging out with them and blah blah blah, and they're just like, oh, da da da. And then when it falls apart or when something pops off, you're just like, see, I knew that. Like, there's no, um, I needed to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. I really feel like, I feel like I talked about that before. That's kind of a disservice. I'm just like, oh, give somebody, like, your first impression, unless you had some weird energy from being in a bad mood or whatever, I think your first impression is really accurate. So I'd say test yourself on smaller things than big things. Like, ask yourself questions like, oh, what is my intuition telling me about, I don't know, like what, I don't know, maybe I was gonna say what city I should live in. I'm like, I don't know if that's a small thing. What is my intuition telling me about if I should do a half hour more of work versus not? I don't know. I can't think of anything right now, but like start with something small and then see how, and then work it up to like bigger things, you know. And you know, that's a way you can quickly like be able to document like, oh, was this right, was this wrong? So yeah, I said differentiate between your intuition and fear, which is a big one. And I feel like kind of talked on it before, because like the fear is kind of like the ego and stuff. Fear is like something that overtakes so many people, and sometimes you just really don't know. It's just like, oh, is this right, or am I just protecting myself? But like, is protecting myself wrong? No. But is it the right thing to do in this circumstance, or should you just take a leap? Or like, it can really be confusing, and I get it. It can really be confusing. And I would suggest meditating. You know, I'm a big proponent of spending time alone, like just yourself, having some intentional quiet time, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes to just sit somewhere or lay down. Like, you get a lot of downloads that way. Yeah, and going into your intuition portal, which I'll get into, but well, I'll get into it now. So I guess I had never really thought about like an intuition space until, that's funny because I feel like I've thought about other spaces. Like, I think I've thought about like a heart space and something else, but like I don't think I've ever thought about like an intuition space. And it's kind of like this concept that I heard of by Joan Corpus Dizon, and I'll leave her a link to her Instagram below. But like, I was in one of like her Facebook group, and she did like these. She had done like I think 1 or 2 meditations on like going into your intuition portal, and I was like, and like kind of, yeah, like what is your intuition, like what is your intuition portal of kind of, and so I really thought about that a lot, and it really like inspired me to create my hypnosis called Cleanse Tuition. Maybe you've seen it. It's in the hypnosis bundle, and I think I'll link to that. But yeah, it really inspired me to create what I feel is my intuition space, which is funny because I've like always had it. Right when I was just like, okay, what does my intuition look like? It was the space that I've seen since I was little, or before I was born, I'll even say, because honestly, I remember being in the womb. But, and like seeing this, at least part of it, and the way I see it is, I don't want to explain my space, because I don't even want to like influence like what your space may look like if you haven't created yours yet, if you haven't seen what it is for you yet. But it's like part of the space that leads into another. But I've always seen the first part like my whole life. So yeah, if you check out Cleanse Tuition, my hypnosis, you can begin to create your own intuition space. I mean, you can do that without the hypnosis, but I think the hypnosis will help. yeah, I feel like when I go into that space, when I intentionally take the time to do that, that's when I'm really able to differentiate between my intuition and fear and what I should do. Like I was there. I think one of the last times I was there was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was the last time or one of the last times was like a week or two ago, because I was really feeling away about a lot of stuff and overwhelmed and stuff. And frequently when I go there, I see God there, and I just talk to him there, and he just told me some things, and he's just like, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to focus on. And I was just like, that makes sense. And like, this isn't, certain, like, this isn't a problem. Like, kind of, this is just you being scared. This isn't a problem. So you just focus on that. And so, yeah. And next, for the last thing I would say for how to get in touch with your intuition, if you like crystals, like I'm always playing with the crystal on these videos. If you even noticed in the last video, I was like holding a crystal the whole time. There are crystals that can like heighten your connection with your intuition, like sodalite. I was carrying sodalite yesterday, and yeah, would be another one. Like green moonstone would be another one. So basically, a lot of the, I know satellite specifically, if you talks about intuition, but basically a lot of the crystals that are aligned with your third eye chakra would be good for your intuition. So that is pretty much all I have. So I would love to hear what you guys think on the topic. Leave a comment and let me know. Let me know if you listen to your intuition, if you don't, if you are trying to work on that. And I always want to be like very like honest with you on like, these are things that I'm still working on. I do them, but these are still things I'm still working on. Like, just because I'm a coach and just because I'm trained in certain things, or just because I'm a hypnotherapist, doesn't mean like I am all set with all these things. This is an active work for me as well. And so let me know, and definitely sign up for my mailing list. You'll get some notes from me, and you'll see about any special offers. I'm trying to, I just blanked on what day it was. I was like, did I send out my newsletter this month? I think I did. So I send out a newsletter every month. I would have had to, because I put it in my calendar to do it. Okay, so sure I did. So the first week of the month I sent out a newsletter, and then like every week you'll get like short little notes just to like, check in and have things to think about throughout the week. So, and if you want to set up a session with me, you can do that as well. All of that can be found at mellowvibes.com. You can definitely check out my hypnosis bundle there as well, where I say cleanse tuition, where I said cleanse tuition is a part of. Okay, there's like 6 or 7, I think there's 7 now, hypnoses in the hypnosis bundle. So cleanse tuition is one of them, and you can check that out all on mellowvibes.com. That's mellowvybes.com, and you can get everything there. I think that's it. Don't forget to like and share this video. Share with anybody else working on developing their intuition, developing that muscle. Something you have to work on all the time, every day, like your body. I will see you in the next video. Peace and mellow vibes.